Maybe that's okay. Thank you guys for all popping in here. If you're just joining us, we're having a few technical difficulties, and Abel just texted me that this doesn't seem to be happening with him connecting to me. And y'all, I mean, we did everything in our power to make sure that this would happen. So to get us both here together, it's really what we wanted to do for you guys today. Have me here to kind of talk about the tour and what it's going to feel like, and then have Abel here so that you could meet him. But I'm going to tell you stuff. And so when you have questions, if you can just type them into the comment section, I will do my best to keep an eye on that. There he is, AM Israel Tours. Sorry, everyone. It is not his fault. I promise you. I don't know a lot about doing social media and all that kind of stuff. And I've got some really awesome people around me who are teaching me the little bit that I do know. And I hear them get frustrated with this stuff every day. So I'm sorry that Abel is not here in picture, but he is definitely here with us. And so I will just go ahead and get started and say that I'm Amanda Hope Haley, which you probably know if you're here already. And I am the red-haired archaeologist. I wrote a book that came out back in 2019 that is about a tour of Israel that I took with my family. I had gone out that year and dug at Tel Shimron, which is a site in Galilee. And after it was over, my parents and my husband flew out to join me. When I was in graduate school, I worked part-time for someone who ran a tour company, and that gave me just enough confidence to think that I could schedule a 2-week tour of Israel for myself and my parents and my husband. And so I did that, and we rented a car, and for 2 weeks, we drove around the state of Israel, seeing all of the important historical sites, all the archaeological sites that I really love, a lot of the sites that are important to Judaism and Christianity, and even a few that are important to Islam. And that turned into the book, The Red-Haired Archaeologist Digs Israel. And once it came out, friends and readers started reaching out to me and asking if I would ever do that tour on a larger scale. And I was really encouraged by everybody asking me that. I thank you for being interested in doing something like that with me. Because of my background and because of the experience I had with my family, I knew that I am not capable of doing this for a group larger than could fit into one vehicle. And so for that reason, I am partnering with Abel Martinez. He is the co-owner of AM Israel Tours, and you see him commenting in the side over here. He has taken hundreds of people to Israel over the years, and this is what he does, and he is great at it. He's not here to tell you that he really has a heart for making sure that people can get into Israel, because he sees it, and I agree with him, as something that we are all called to do. Going to Israel is something that is going to change your life. And so anyway, I find him to be the perfect partner with this. So when we go over there, he is going to be running everything for us because he has been over there so many times. And I'm going to be your hostess. I'm going to go and talk to you about all of the different sites that are in Israel and how they illuminate the Bible. That's my passion, is helping people to understand the context of Scripture. And really, the best way that you can do that is to go over to Israel and see that stuff for yourselves. So one thing that makes my tour different from some of the others, different from a tour you may have been on with your church or something like that, is that I really focus in on the history. I am not a pastor. And while I think it's really important for us to go and see some of the sites that are important to Christianity, there are so many places in Israel that are hugely important to the Old Testament, to the Hebrew Bible, and that are also important today, that are important to the modern state of Israel and the more recent history. And so with this tour, you get to see all of that. You get to go and have a better understanding of the land of Israel, the way it was 2,000-3,000 years ago and the way it is today. It is about meeting the people who who lived there, who formed this over thousands of years of continuous occupation of this place up until today, and falling in love with them and the customs that they have. And so it's not just going over there and being educated and being on a bus and taking notes and learning, but it's also getting to enjoy this culture. The food that is in Israel is amazing. When people ask me, hey, what do you miss the most? What do you love the most about Israel? The thing that always pops into my mind first is the produce that's over there. I dream about that fish and those cucumbers. I don't know what they do, but the foods that they cook, just the warm people who live over there, they are what I love about the land as much as the history and everything else. And so that's generally my heart for it. I am curious, as everybody who is in here with us, can you just type in yes or no? Have you ever been to Israel before yourself? I'd love to have a feel for who is here with us, what kind of experiences you may have had in the past. Abel has been to Israel. That's good. I have been to Israel. I think maybe a few others have as well. So yes, David Haley, that is my husband, joining us from work. That's wonderful. Clay, Dana is my mom. Stacy, no, I would love it if you could join us. Dana and Ross are my parents. And so they and my husband are really the only people here today who have gone to Israel with me. And so I'm kind of curious. I warned them that I might ask this question, and I think they're all happy that they're not on camera with me. But I was wanting them maybe to share with the room what were their favorite parts about Israel. Maybe what was unexpected to you, or what do you miss? What would you like to experience again? Anyone who has been before, what were your favorite parts of going over there? And if you haven't been before, what is something that you think you want to do? Because the tour is set. If you go onto my website, or if you go to Abel's website, and Abel, if you want to type it in right there, then you can see the itineraries and everything that are on both of our sites. April, your question, that is an Abel question. Do you have to be vaccinated? And I am not sure of the answer to that. That's been a moving target. I know things have changed really just in the last few months with Israel. Thank you. Abel, just put his website there. If you go to that site, you can see all of the itinerary, where we're going, the hotels we're staying in, places we're even going to be eating dinner in some cases. Really, the full outline is there. Okay, so Abel says no, you don't have to be vaccinated to go to Israel. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of a lag here. That's good. That's good to know. One thing I know Abel was going to talk to everybody about was the importance of having travel insurance when we go here. And a lot of that, I think, is a result of COVID and what happened with that in the last few years, as far as quarantining and all of the things that both the U.S. and Israel require, can put some challenges in there. I think those rules are loosening up, but travel insurance, that is something. Abel, is that on your website where they can go click and maybe read about that? I'm sorry that I don't know more about those little nuts and bolts things. While he's putting that in there, I'll say my husband responded that I'm thinking this is one of his favorite things, was sitting at the Sea of Galilee, hearing the crash of the waves and seeing how the sound travels across. I really loved that too. When you if you're a New Testament Bible reader and you read about Jesus making the choice to go out onto the Sea of Galilee to get away from the masses and speak to the people from there, when you're actually at the Sea of Galilee, you understand why. And my husband brought this up because his background is in engineering and physics and all of those things. And, he talked to my parents and me about how sound travels differently over water. And because of the way the hills surrounding the Sea of Galilee are, it would have amplified Jesus's, or anyone, it amplifies your voice so that you can hear it from farther out. those are the kinds of things that it's one thing for me to say it and explain it in a scientific way. It's another thing to be there. And we have plans to picnic right there on the shores of the Sea of Galilee near Capernaum, and, you know, just be able to sit there and experience all that. Also, the wind on the Sea of Galilee is unexpected. The Sea of Galilee is actually a lake. It's got lots of different names, but it's actually a lake. It's landlocked, and you wouldn't expect there to be the kinds of waves and wind and everything that you get there, but that does exist. Let's see. My mom responded that she loved our trip to the Golan Heights, wineries, special attention given to us, like making fresh food to have with their wines. We're going to do this again too. This trip is a very active trip. And I know Abel talks about how he encourages everyone who goes with him to start exercising, start walking, and get to where you can comfortably walk 3 miles a day, which maybe sounds like a lot, or maybe you're a marathon runner and that's absolutely nothing. But I know that after the holidays, I'm probably going to have to retrain myself for some of that. But we're going to be doing a lot of walking, and a lot of Israel is really up and down and up and down. And when we go to some of these dig sites, they're on tells, and tells are just really giant hills. And so you'll encounter places that, you know, there's a lot of elevation change, and it can be tiring. And so what I've tried to do with the tour is work in some days of things that are different. So you're not just constantly going up onto a tell, looking at an archaeological site, eventually going, oh, yay, more rocks, and then walking back down. I don't want you to have that experience, because this is a vacation too. This is a time for you to enjoy all that great food and enjoy those people. And so one day we're going to go up into the Golan Heights, and we're going to do a tour of vineyards. We're going to tour a vineyard and then go to a winery, have a wine tasting there. They're going to do, I believe, a charcuterie, prepare some things for us, have some local honey from the Golan Heights. And we're going to, I believe there's a Jeep tour that's involved too, where you get to drive through the countryside of the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights are north and northeast of the Sea of Galilee. They're up, if you go to the extreme north, they're up on the Syrian border. It's a very different terrain than maybe what you picture most of Israel being like, because it's very green. It's such a beautiful place. And so we have this day fit in there where we can go and learn about viticulture. And it's not just an excuse to go to a vineyard and drink wine. Viticulture has a long history in Israel, and it was really, really important to the way the country developed as far as trade lines go. And so it fits in with everything. You're going to learn those days and understand why wine is mentioned so much in the Bible. There are theological reasons, but there are really practical reasons too, because it was such an important cash crop for Israel, even in antiquity. And it's starting to become like that again today. The wine that comes out of that region, the region is really similar to the Bordeaux region of France. And so the wines that are coming out of there are some of the best I've ever tasted in my life. So that's a nice break. That's a nice breath that I think that we have in the tour, that is apart from hiking through archaeological sites and all of that kind of stuff. My dad said the favorite places I have are varied for me. So here are 3. The Tomb of the Patriarchs in Hebron, a luncheon at a winery in the Golan Heights, and then he said the streets of Nazareth. Not. The Tomb of the Patriarchs in Hebron is amazing. This is another centerpiece of the tour for me. Whenever I'm invited to speak somewhere, if people have read the book, that is probably the first question I get, is about Hebron, because Hebron is the largest city in the West Bank, and it is divided. There's 2 different regions, H1 and H2. And if you hold an Israeli passport, you can only go into one side. If you hold a Palestinian passport, you can only go into the other side. And with the exception of holy days, the twain do not meet. Well, that line between H1 and H2 runs directly down the middle of the Tomb of the Patriarchs, which is this giant building that was built by Herod the Great. It's over 2,000 years old, and it has been in continuous use as a religious facility since then. It is apparently, supposedly, traditionally said to have been built over the cave of Machpelah, where all of the ancestors were, Abraham and Sarah and all of them were buried. And so we get to go into Hebron one day, and actually, because of a partnership that another company called Abraham Tours has, that we'll have two guides. We'll have an Israeli guide and a Palestinian guide, and we'll spend half the day with one and then cross over the border half the day with the other. So we get to see both sides of that building, which is not something a lot of people get to do. And then we also get to spend time on both sides and going to the bazaars in both cities and learning a lot really about the more recent history of Israel and Palestine. So that's something that I think is really important for understanding Hebron as it is today. But then also, Hebron's not a huge deal in the New Testament, but it is so important to the Old Testament, not just because of the cave of Machpelah, but that's also where King David had his first capital for 7 years. And so we go up and we get to see the ruins of what is probably David's ancient city. Sadly, it hasn't really been excavated very much yet, so there's a lot of question marks there, but we get to go and see that, which is something that I think is really unique among other kinds of tours of Israel. It's something I get passionate about, obviously. I really enjoyed Hebron. Forgive me, I'm doing all the talking, which my husband says I'm prone to do anyway. And my father teases me with number 3 there, the streets of Nazareth. We will go to Nazareth. This is obviously a city that is important to Christianity. We will go to the Church of the Annunciation, the Catholic Church of the Annunciation, and maybe a few other sites. Honestly, we haven't totally nailed all of that down yet. But when I went there with my family, we had rented a car. And I was driving because my visa was slightly different because I had been there longer. And so I was the one doing all the driving, which my husband did not appreciate. And when we got to Nazareth, we are following along and doing what Google Maps or Waze or whoever it was we were using at the time. We were trying to get to the Church of the Annunciation, and it kept telling us to turn down this alleyway. And we went back and forth by it several times. And everyone in the car was like, no, we are not turning that way. And eventually, a car was racing up behind me. Basically, to keep us from getting hit, I went ahead and I turned down this road, and we went down this alleyway, and the road got narrow, and then we turned a corner, it got more narrow, and we came up next to the stoop of a gentleman who lived there, and he didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Arabic, and he looked at us kind of funny, and I was able to see the spire of the church, and I pointed up to it, and I was like, we're trying to get there. And I sort of motioned to him, should I turn around? Should I go? And he looked and he nodded and he's like, yeah, you need to keep going, which I did. And it kept getting more narrow and narrow until we even flipped in the mirrors on the side. And then we made one last turn, and someone in their infinite wisdom, maybe 300 or 400 years ago, had decided to do a second-story extension on their house, and they had put a post directly in the center of the street, and we were stuck. And so my dad wiggled out, and he went down the street, and he found some people who were playing games in a local bar and got them to come and help us. And literally a woman who had 4 or 5 children with her, she got on the phone and started calling all of her neighbors, and everybody came and they started moving cars. And it was just this amazing game of musical cars until somehow we were able, with all of their help, to get out of there. And I don't know, it felt like this took hours. It probably took like 30 minutes. But when we finally got back to that main road, I looked at my family and I was like, okay, are we done with Nazareth? And everybody's like, yeah, let's just go on. Because I think we were going to Megiddo after that. And I made a turn, and I'm heading toward the freeway, and then boom, there was the church right there. We just were a few blocks away from it the entire time. So we ended up touring it. So the good news for you is, I will not be driving. We will not be in cars of any sort. Abel has it set up so that we have a very nice air-conditioned bus. This is something I wish that he was here for too, because I know that when we're on the bus, there are headsets so that you can understand the tour guide who's speaking at the front, so that everyone can hear no matter where you are in the bus. I'm not sure about the language with those. I know sometimes there can be translations into different languages. We're going to have a professional tour guide with us the whole time. So you get Abel, the tour operator, who is going to make sure that everything runs smoothly and that we are kept safe. And, you know, if something happens and someone gets sick, he's going to know what to do. If a flight out of London is late one day, he's going to know how to hook everybody, you know, up with the rest of the group. That is what he is there for, is to make this as smooth for everyone else. But then we're also going to have a professional tour guide. And in Israel, tour guides literally go to school to do this. And they're going to know absolutely everything and have all the details on the tip of their tongue. Well, so that person, so that you can hear them talking, or I guess if I talk while we're on the bus too, there are headsets that are involved. And that's part of it. But yeah, it's air conditioned. It's going to be comfortable. That bus won't physically fit down any teeny tiny little streets. The man who's going to be driving it, I believe Abel has a long relationship with, and they do this kind of stuff all the time. And so we're going to be in good hands when we're over in Israel. Have I missed any other questions? Dania said it sounds amazing. Thank you. I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoy traveling as it is, but there is something about Israel. And when I went the first time in 2004, someone said to me, and I wish I could remember who, that once you go to Jerusalem, no place ever feels like home again. And there's a lot of truth in that statement. There's something about visiting the Holy Land and being in the cradle of Judaism and Christianity that just seeps into you and changes your perspective on things. Plus, then just meeting the Israeli people, I find them to be so warm and so welcoming, and it's just a group of people that you want to meet in person and get to know beyond the headlines that we see on our TVs every day. Here in the US, and I think maybe in the UK, we tend to get the bad news that comes from over there, and it tends to be little bitty sound bites. And Israel is a full and vibrant country. It is very, very safe. Oh, let's see. So my mother said that she loved En-Gedi, the nature reserve, and Abel just responded that he agreed that En-Gedi is amazing. I am excited to go back there. So En-Gedi in the Bible is where Saul is up in a cave, and he is using the facilities, if you will, and David creeps in behind him and cuts the corner of his cloak off as a way of being able to say to him, I was this close. I could have killed you, but I didn't. And that happened in En-Gedi. It's an oasis. And so no matter what time of year you go, water is flowing. But one thing that'll be new and different about the tour for me is that I've only ever been to Israel in June, July, and August. And so we're going to be there in May, which is still spring, and everything is going to be green and lush and in bloom. And so I'm really excited to see En-Gedi and really to see all parts of Israel at a different time of year. That's going to be new and different for me. But En-Gedi has amazing places you can hike to. I mean, it's an oasis. It's absolutely beautiful. You can hike flat, you can hike up and down, all of that. And if we end up with a group of people who love hiking, maybe we can work some of that into our day there. It is amazing, he says. Very beautiful country. Abel also said that it's a very casual country. Yes, that I absolutely agree with that. After digging in 2019, most of my clothes were still dig clothes. In fact, if you've ever seen any pictures that I posted of myself from there, I'm in like t-shirts that, if you look closely, have like dirt smeared on them. And they were clean, just maybe a little stained. But I mean, I was able to be somewhat comfortable in whatever, as we were hiking and doing those kinds of things. Does anyone else have any questions? Abel, are there other things that you and I talked about that we were going to try to address today that I haven't gotten to? There probably are, because I've just gone off the top of my head. But I do see we've been doing this for almost 30 minutes. I don't want to keep everybody absolutely forever. I'm just really eager to share my passion for the country, let you know how excited I am about it, and invite you to come do this with us. David just said, does the cost of the tour include flights? Yes. Thank you. That is an excellent question. Mostly the answer is yes. So Abel has set it up where we're going to be flying El Al, and we have 2 base cities. And so because a lot of my readers and listeners are actually based in the UK, we have reserved a certain number of seats that are actually going to be flying out of Heathrow, and then another set of seats that are going to be flying out of JFK. And so the price includes the international flight from JFK to Tel Aviv or London Heathrow to Tel Aviv. So like, I live in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We would need to get ourselves to JFK, and then everything is covered from there. This, I think, makes it easier if everyone in the group, or if everyone in the group is coming from just 2 destination cities instead of a lot of different destination cities. First off, you meet each other ahead of time, which is kind of nice. But then I think it also makes the process of going through customs a lot easier when you get into Israel. Let's see, Ross, what major sites will we visit along the tour? That is such a good and basic question that I just skipped right over. Thank you, Daddy. Before I jump to that, David, will AM Israel tours be able to help with the connecting flights? And Abel, I believe the answer to that is yes. If you go to his website that he linked to in the comments earlier, all of his contact information is there. You sign up for the tour there, and then you'll be able to reach him directly. And so if you want to go through him to get that, he absolutely can do it. The itinerary itself, if you happen to have read the book, it is really similar to what is in the book. I'm going to do this off the top of my head, y'all. Here we go. So the first day is in Tel Aviv, and I wanted to make the first day in country really as easy for everyone as possible, because a lot of us are going to be dealing with jet lag. So the first day is a trip to the Eretz Israel Museum that my mom mentioned right there. Also then just I believe we go up to Jaffa that day and walk around the White City, and is an ancient part of Tel Aviv that is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We take a walk through there. It is designed to be just an easy day for us all to get our feet under us. And then honestly, if people get there and they feel a little jet lagged, if you maybe don't feel like going up into Jaffa or something like that, then you're not going to miss anything. It's a good day to just feel like you're getting into Israel. After that, subsequent days, we're going to go, well, first off, in Tel Aviv, we are staying on the ocean. The hotel that Abel has selected for us is gorgeous, and it's on the Mediterranean, not the ocean. I don't think that's physically possible. I meant the Mediterranean. It's on the beach, and it's beautiful. So subsequent days, we're going to go south, and we're going to go toward the Philistine Pentapolis cities, and we're going to do a tour of Ashkelon. That's the first place that I ever dug. That is a Philistine site. It was Canaanite, and then it was Philistine, and then Ashkelon today is a thriving and beautiful city. So it's really great to see. We're going to see Ashkelon. In subsequent days, we're going to see Beth Shemesh, which is a large site that has been well excavated, and large chunks of it have been restored. We're going to see Tel Lachish, which was also very important site. In fact, I just saw something today. It came across today in my newsfeed that whoever's excavating at Lachish, they uncovered an ivory comb from Lachish that had a Canaanite engraving on it, and it is believed to be the oldest Canaanite written sentence ever to have been discovered. So Lachish also has a long history from Canaan all the way up through, it gets mentioned in Kings as the city that the Rashakah was staying in. It's a very important city. So Lachish, one day we're going to go to a place called Beit Guvrin, which was a really important city more during the Roman era. And they have this really cool program that's called Dig for a Day. It's actually a 4-hour long program. And so everybody's going to get to experience being an archaeologist in a light kind of way for about 4 hours a day. But you get to learn about the tools of the trade, and you get to actually use a trowel and actually dig at Beit Guvrin. They allow the volunteers to go in there and do some work under the eyes of professional archaeologists. So if you find something, then yay, that'll be amazing. But if you find something, you don't get to keep it, because in Israel, everything that is within the ground is the property of the state of Israel. And so the Israel Antiquities Authority is over all of that. And so anything that is found will stay on site. I'm sure you'll get to take lots of pictures and tell all your friends, and then just have this amazing story of being an archaeologist for a day. So that's one thing we're going to do that's different. Obviously, we're going to go to Masada. We spend we spend a half a day there, but then we don't do anything else with the Masada trip, because that is on the Dead Sea. It overlooks the Dead Sea, and it had a long history. It was built by Herod the Great, and there was a war there at the end that has a very tragic story. So Masada, to me, is enough to do in one day, but then that also gives us some time just to experience the Dead Sea, to go out and do your bobbing, or again, Abel has found us a really great hotel where we can go, and if you want to reserve spa treatments for yourself or something, that's not part of the tour, but that would be an option you would have. We're going to go there. We're going to go to a place called Tel Arad that has the oldest Holy of Holies that has ever been found in Israel. Then we'll head up toward the Sea of Galilee. That is when we hit En Gedi. We'll go to Qumran, where the Dead Sea Scrolls have been found, and then head toward Capernaum. We'll see Capernaum, Tiberias. We're actually going to be staying in Magdala, which is exciting to me. So the city of Magdala, if you've read any of my stuff, just in the last 10 years, the original city was uncovered and nothing was ever built on top of it after it was destroyed. And so everything that's coming out of the ground is from the first century. And there's beautiful synagogues that are coming out of there. And we're learning a lot about first century Jewish life as a result of what's coming out of Magdala. And they have just built, it's been open, I don't know, maybe 6 months, a new hotel there that it overlooks the Sea of Galilee. It also looks absolutely amazing. So I'm excited about getting to stay there, because it was under construction when I was there in 2019. So we're going to do Magdala, then spend a day going up toward the Golan Heights, and then we will hook around and hit Megiddo, which in your New Testament, of course, that is Armageddon. We'll learn about Megiddo. We'll see Nazareth at that point. I think that's on the same day. And then we hook down into Jerusalem, and we spend the last 4 days in Jerusalem doing all of the sites, cramming as much as we possibly can in. That's when you're going to see a lot of churches there. That's going to be the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, where you go. That is where many Christian traditions believe that Jesus was buried. But then we're also going to go see the Garden Tomb, which is where the Protestants believe that he laid, and that's actually owned by group out of England. So we're going to see everything there that we can. We're going to go to the city of David, where they're doing active excavations and uncovering the city of David. Lots of artifacts from there. We're going to do, anyone who wants to can do the tour through Hezekiah's tunnel. You can choose the dry method or the wet method. I recommend the wet method. I did that on our tour. My husband and my parents chose to go through the dry side, but it's really great to walk through this narrow channel with this cool, clean, crisp water. It's just an experience unlike anything else. So then we actually end, before heading back to Tel Aviv, we end with a trip to Yad Vashem, which is the Holocaust Remembrance Center. And that's really the only thing that we do that day. We go there, and then we all have lunch together at the end before heading to the airport. And that is really important for, again, understanding the modern state of Israel and the people who live there today, and the lives of Jews around the world today. Okay, so Abel said, if you find something, I get the credit. I am fine with that. Melinda said, if we find something really cool, will we be in your next book? Wow, we can discuss that. I mean, yes, maybe. I do have a habit of telling stories about my family and friends. And if you go on this tour, I will count you as my friend, most definitely. Actually, if you're listening to this podcast, I already do. Let's see. AM Israel Tours, the Golani is my very favorite. Sarah, I have never had a holiday, but I'm so looking forward to you giving me all the feedback when you visit. This holiday sounds so amazing. A dream come true. Blessings to you. Thank you so much, Sarah. If you listen to my podcast, you may have heard me wax poetic a little bit in the last episode, and that is about travel in general. And I wish I could travel more. David and I, we're those people who, we don't have a whole lot of money, so we have to be really, really careful with how we choose to do things. But I know there are a lot of reasons in life that people aren't able to travel. It may just be where you are in your stage of life, and you have responsibilities at home, or maybe you have mobility issues, or maybe you're just afraid to fly. Who knows? But I'm thankful that we do live in a world where I can come to you on Facebook Live and share all of this with you. And through social media, I can share pictures, and through publishing, write books, all of these kinds of things. We live in a world where I can share images and videos. We all can do that with each other, and I will continue to do that. When we're over there, I'll be taking pictures and videos and streaming and sharing as much as I possibly can, because this is an experience that I think ideally is experienced in person. And I hope everyone at some point in their life has the opportunity and the capability to get over to Israel and take that pilgrimage and experience it. But if you don't, then I want to be here to help you have the next best thing. And so in a way, that's why I do what I do too. It's just to share this passion with you, and for me also to help you understand the scriptures a little bit better. Being in Israel, understanding that ancient history changes the way that we read things, and gives us a closer connection, not just to the land of Israel, but ultimately to God. Clay, I figured out the issue on why Abel can't join you, so we will do this again soon. You did great by yourself. Thank you, Clay. I did my best. This is just me talking off the top of my head, and if you come, you'll have to endure this. I hope as many of you can come as possible. Sarah, thank you. You love my podcasts. Thank you. Thank you for your compliment. I appreciate that very much. Anyway, any other last minute questions before we sign off? I was going to try to keep it to 30 minutes. I kept it to 41, and honestly, for me, that counts as being on time. Well, after this is over, let's see, it is somehow going to be housed on my Facebook, on Abel's Facebook page. I think we're going to get it uploaded to YouTube, several places. And so if you know someone who may have loved this and you want to share it with them, you will be able to do it. Obviously, there won't be the live component, but they'll get to hear me ramble on about this tour. Abel is saying, anyone can ask me logistical questions regarding the tour. He's got his email address right there. It's easy, abel@amisraeltours.com. Come go with us. Can't wait. Well, so Melinda just revealed that she is coming on the tour. So yay. I'm really excited to have Melinda going with Abel and me. That's going to be really awesome. So yeah. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope I see you soon. And if not, I'll see you on social media, and I'll see you on Facebook pages. Thanks, guys.